How you doing, folks? I'm Gary and this is a Cult of Drama. Welcome back to another wee episode here, guys, in the dining room. Tonight I've decided to grab a bottle of Ardmore Legacy. I'll get some of this in the glass and then we'll have a wee chat. If this is the first time you've popped onto the channel, guys, and after you've watched this, please consider hitting the subscribe button. And if you like what you're watching, please give us a thumbs up. These algorithms that YouTube have, the likes and things like that help us to grow the channel. So please give us a wee like on the button down below. Okay, Ardmore. I don't think I've covered any Ardmore on the channel before in the past. Ardmore Distillery is it's a distillery that sits on the line of being a Speyside and being a Highland whisky. The brand themselves, the bottle, if you can see it, it has Highland on it, not Speyside. So they've made that choice themselves. But if you look at the geography of it, it's right on the sort of edge of Speyside, moving into Highland, moving more towards Aberdeen. It's in a place called Kenneth Mount, and I think the largest sort of bigger place close to it is Huntly. The distillery itself is around about 150-year-old. It's owned today by the Japanese-American company Beam Suntory. The distillery has a capacity for around about 5.5 million litres per annum, and they run on, I think it's an 8 stills they've got there at the distillery. A large amount of their output, majority of their output is peated whisky, and as we talk about this dram in a moment, we'll talk about the peat component of this one. A large amount of the output that comes out of Ardmore Distillery goes into a blend that some of you may have heard of, Teachers. I'll leave you to your own opinion on the Teachers blend, but we'll maybe have a look at it in the future. I think I've got some lying around somewhere. So this one here, Ardmore Legacy, as a dram, it is a 40% whisky, so there's nothing, starting out on the ABV. There is no mention of things like colour or chill filtration and things like that. And at a 40% ABV, you're going to pretty much assume that there's maybe been a little bit of cosmetic tweaking done within this dram. As I said, it is largely peated. The company say that it is made up of approximately 80% peated whisky, 20% unpeated whisky. Now the peat they say they use for this dram comes from the Aberdeen side of Scotland, and if you talk to people about peat and the makeup of peat, they say that the peat from the Aberdeen side of Scotland is slightly different to the peat you're going to find on, say for example, Islay. People often talk about Islay having that iodine sort of influence in it. The peat that you'll get from the Aberdeen side doesn't really have that iodine thing in it. This sort of the sulphur type thing is not as obvious in there. It's a bit more of a almost burnt, possibly carbon-like burn on the Aberdeen peat. But I'll leave you to decide that one on yourself. But if you want to look into it, yeah, slightly different peat makeup, and they say 80% peated, 20% unpeated. So there we go, Ardmore. There are a couple of other expressions that come out from there. It's not one that you see a lot of. It's out there. I think they did or do a 12-year, and I think I know there's definitely a 21-year-old, but you'll have a look for them. You have to look at your specialist retailers if you're going to find it. This one here you'll find in most supermarkets, off-licence retailers and things, and it's pretty much what I would like to maybe call a supermarket whisky. It's in the region of £20, £25 you know, it's definitely under £30 if you're going to buy it. And I think I paid about £23 for this bottle. Right, so this one's been sat in the glass there now. Have a little sniff at it and see what it's like. Yeah, it's got that nose of light peatedness there, maybe a welcoming, not overly slap in the face peat. But there is a fruitiness in there. Now, if I remember right, I think it's ex-bourbon American white oak casks that are used in this. And there, to me, there's a slight, maybe appleness about it or something like that, you know, orchard style. It's quite a sweet peat. Not anything nasty about it, and there's not 40% ABV, there's nothing going to be burning the old hairs out your nose. It's not a bad nose. It's maybe one of, like I said, maybe I'm not aggressive, welcoming peat. So it's maybe one of those sort of peated whiskies you want to use with somebody that's not quite, you know, built up that accustomedness to peat. So it might be quite a welcoming dram for them if they're quite new at peat. What do you say? Peat's coming in there, you get it in the mouth, there's a slight sting in the mouth, nothing nasty on that. But my first impressions is it's almost like that ashiness. You know, you're standing around the campfire, you've picked a stick to poke at the fire, and then you pull the stick away and the stick's smouldering. And there's like an ashy smokiness coming from that stick as opposed to the burning of it there. So there's a wee ashiness, a wee smokiness, there's nothing nasty or anything about it. But again, there's nothing complex about it. You're not having to think about it too much. Yeah, the ashiness is the big thing that comes over it for me. What I do, as you can see, I've had a fair bit out of this bottle. And what I do is I use it as, I fancy a little bit of peat. But if I'm maybe doing some work at home in the evening or something, I still want to have a dram, if I want to read or anything like that. I want a bit of a peat about it, but I don't want it to be overly complex. I don't want to start, you know, sniffing my dram and thinking about, you know, the nose, the palate and what's on the nose and things. But I still want to hit a peat. So there's nothing complex about it, but there's still that wee edge of peat in there. That gives me a little bit of a fix, you know. So it's not a bad dram, it's just not overly complicated. Perhaps, you know, if they shot the ABV up a little bit, it might even be a little bit more welcoming. But for, I think, you know, under 30 quid, I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's a bad whiskey. Not amazing, but definitely not a bad whiskey price. You get a chance and it's on your supermarket shelf. It's always worth sticking there. As Vin always says, it's a guard whiskey. Stick it at the front of your shelf, put all the other stuff behind it. And that way if somebody says they fancy a wee bit of peat, you can try them with this one before having to delve into some of the better ones. Okay guys, Slange, see you again soon.